to This Old Armory. Today, we'll show you how to make Normans. After dishing the bowl, I can't be serious. After dishing the bowls out, the next step is pointing. And one of the things that we do to sort of help maintain the shape of the bowl before actually abusing it on the bighorn is what we quaintly call Edith Anning it, and we need to go down here to the ground. And you curl it up a little bit this way, a little bit more than it was before. This may have been a little too much, but somehow I doubt it. Okay, next step. Got a nice tight shot of how I have this set up here. The point, of the helmet here, and the edge, either the front or the back, set up like so on the bighorn. Using the flat face of the hammer, slowly, well, effectively, brutally, start reshaping this edge. And then the other side. And slowly, it starts to pull a point out of it. You can also use a steel hammer on this, especially right at the point, to do some of the extreme work of getting the point pulled out. A couple of things to beware of is hitting it too much and flaring this point out. At least for the Norman style helmet, you want a smooth transition from the side on up to the very point of it. If you're looking to do something like a Moorish or Persian style helmet, by all means, feel free to hammer on this and flare it and pull it out this way. But for doing these, no. Now this has just about the right amount of point. In fact, I think when I hit it on the floor, I curled it up just a little too much. So I'm going to flatten this up. Okay, so I will continue working Okay, well, I will go on to the other half. curvature is just a little too shallow this way. So what I'll need to do, and I'll need to check it against the other one, but probably have to tightly curl these, or at least a little more tightly curl these here and here. And one of the ways I can do that and also achieve some more pointing is by, instead of just working at the very edge or point of the front or back, move it in slightly on the helmet. Instead of here, about here. Run the bighorn this way. This will slightly curl this area in and pull out some more of the better. Point, ready to start matching them up. You'll notice that there are some pretty extensive gaps in the bowl. Some of this will be removed, will be alleviated by, in fact, getting rid of some of the point. We'll either grind or trim it off. Yeah. I'm attempting to pull just a little bit more point out of this, as to avoid as much grinding and trimming as possible. Try to pull as much point that was in the pattern out of it. As you can see, it's comparatively straight along this edge. There are some inconsistencies, but by and large, most of those at this point are either grindable or weldable. So, go on to the next one, and get the two to match and tack them together. Be on your way. If you do manage to get any slight flaring in here, yeah, you'll notice that this sort of blips up at the very point. What you can do is work this over the anvil to straighten that line out. Actually, why don't we go for the close-up? Okay, I'm trying to get this from the edge so you can see what I'm talking about. Yes, no, maybe. Trying to focus. Give you something decent to work from. You can see there's just at the very point, there's a little, almost like fishtail or whatever you would want to call it. And you don't want that. Not on this type of helmet. So you can get rid of that. Straightens this section out. This method can also be used for pulling the point out, but it puts far more hammer marks in and on, mostly on the outside, than you really need to worry about. This can all be dealt with the raw, you know, if once your hammer technique is pretty good, you can avoid a lot of the irregularities and mistakes, and these can go together in 10 minutes, you know, fairly quick. I'll go back and do just a little bit more point work on it. And as Ralph Cramden says, away we go. Okay. Well, they fit pretty well together. One thing, I'll bring this in for a close-up. One thing you'll notice is, with the exception of the point, there isn't a lot of actual crest to it. Now, if this shape helmet is acceptable, then all you need to do is basically make sure you get your bottom points and your top point lined up, start welding, you know, tack it together, start getting your edges lined up. However, we've decided that we do want to pull a little more crease out of this, give an overall shape that we prefer, at least for this style of helmet. And what I'll do, I have a couple of choices, but basically what I'll do is just slightly flare this edge out a little bit. And of course, the ideal is to make sure that you do both sides the same. It's always nice to have symmetry, you know. Just for fun, I can compare them now, and you can see, should be able to see the difference. Maybe if I hold it a little more edge up, you can get a better idea. Maybe, maybe not. There, that's a pretty good. You can see this, yeah. I can't tell. Stage left, stage right. Oh well, too bad. One of them, this half curves evenly and smoothly and roundly right into where the crease ought to be, but it isn't. This one, in comparison, curves evenly and smoothly and not quite so roundly into where the crease will be. I'll make this one like this one, and I'll tack them together. Want to be careful not to do this too much because you don't want to thin this area out. All you're doing is attempting to move it or manipulate it slightly. The more you hammer on it, the thinner it gets. This is an area that's going to receive a lot of work. The welding will soften the area because of the heat. The grinding will thin the area out. This could be the weakest area, so you don't want to work it a whole lot. You want to be as efficient as possible about your hammer work. Yeah, and all of that. The reason I'm using the cross peen is to get as close up to the point as possible with the most amount of precision. By the way, you'll notice I'm using a comparatively broadly rounded hammer. You can get away with one as round as this. You don't want any more ball-faced, or else you're going to really start warping the handle or the piece of metal around. Another alternative is a face like this, which will approximate the curvature that you're working. The curvature of the hammer and the curvature of the metal are very close. You won't do quite as much, not damage to the metal, but overall thinning. You can also utilize hammers like this to do final smoothing actions. Though there's a little bit of gap, as you'll notice, especially in this particular one, there's far more crest, especially this side. This gap can be remedied once again through a little bit of grinding.